your bank was this bank. It was like literally within like a handful of years, every one of these independent banks were all together in one way, shape, or another, and providing all services, merging all services, all that kind of stuff. So how do you go, like, how do you raise the capital to do that? And like, yeah, obviously you don't have to disclose the secret sauce, but some of the steps that you went to in order to do that, because from a business standpoint, I find it absolutely remarkable to go and actually open a bank. It's something that people always, you say money doesn't grow on trees. Well, if you get a bank, it's growing on trees for you. And so you got to, and you're helping people at the same time that you're doing that. So, and that's really what it's all about. So explain a little bit about that. Like, how did you go about some of those steps?
Sure. And I'm going to, I had the pleasure of listening to a couple of your podcasts too. So I'm going to try to tie it in a little bit, if that's okay with you. Because I think it's all about, in the end, building the team and coaching other people to be their best is critical in business. And I think that's why so many former athletes are such good business people. Now, some are really bad business people too, don't get me wrong, because they didn't learn anything.
Right.
But I have to tell you, we have as some of our clients, by the way, some former athletes from football, baseball, and some of them really paid attention to the business lessons that they could learn from being part of a team sport. Some of them didn't. And by the way, I think that those people who are part of team sports have a better chance if they're paying attention to learning lessons that are applicable, because it's always about the team. It's always about the team. If you're playing tennis, by yourself, it's about making yourself great in the best way that you can. But if you're part of if you're on the football field, I mean, you can be the greatest quarterback in the world, but if you don't have people who are on your front line, if you don't have receivers, if you don't have, if you don't have a team around you, you could be the best quarterback in the world, but it's going to be pretty ugly, and you're going to be pretty bruised up. So it's a lot about the team and a lot about conditioning and doing the right thing. So I'll tell you a story, and this will get to a couple of the points in one. We opened the bank May 1st, 2001. And this was a pretty scary thing, because all of a sudden we now have 300-ish people. We've just hired over the last month, the last surge of, let's say 100 plus people, and we're ready to open the doors. And I got up and I said, made it up on the spot. I said, in 5 years, we're going to be a $5 billion bank. And in 10 years, we're going to be a $10 billion bank. So fast forward 5 years, we were a $3.8 billion bank, which wasn't bad. But for me, I wanted to do a deep assessment with my partners. Are we doing the right things? Do we need to change? This is a big time, we set a goal. It didn't matter that the goal came out of nowhere, but are we doing the right things to become the $5 and $10 billion bank? And we, really did that assessment, and we said, yes, we are doing the right things. We're getting traction, and it's going to depend on the environment and whether we can take advantage of that. Fast forward the next 5 years, we're a $14.8 billion bank. In the second 5 years, we grew $11.8 billion. And that didn't happen by accident. It happened because we were doing all the right stuff. And when the 2008 crisis came, we stuck together as a team. We're the only bank in the United States, if I could do one, I'm super proud of this. We're literally the only bank in the United States that during the whole financial crisis, 07 going through, we made more money in 08 than 07, more money in 09 than 08, more money in 10 than 9. We never had a down year. And I actually ascribe that. We're the only bank in the United States over 4 billion that can say that. And I ascribe that to I ascribe it to a culture. I ascribe it to being willing to look hard and say, the subprime stuff, it's really crazy. We're not going to do it, even if it's going to cost us money in the long term, because it's not serving our clients. CDO squared, that doesn't make sense. We want to be a conservative bank. We said no to more stuff than you can shake a stick. And yet, and we were criticized for it at the time. And so you have to be willing to take criticism, but you have to be focused on creating that team with the right culture. And we did. And, fast forward the second, it's not quite 10 years from when we were 14.8 billion. It's about 9.5. And we're over 50 billion. And we haven't done any acquisitions because we were doing the right thing. It's about conditioning. It's about, being ready when times are strange. I mean, that's what's going on today. We came into this, we can talk about it at some point later, holding those sort of values. We're going to stay really liquid. We're not going to try to do anything heroic. We're going to, and we're going to make sure that our team is together. So I sort of answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I think what's really fascinating is the ability to acquire customers from scratch in a bank, and that creating that confidence. So I give you my dollars as a small business owner or mid-sized business owner. What makes me want to come to your bank versus going to some place where they've been around for 100 years type of thing. I think that might be one of the toughest things and most interesting things about what separates a bank like yours from somebody else.
So a couple things. Number one, you will never hear, you could stay here a year and you won't hear the term customer used in this bank. Everybody's a client, and by that, I mean, we are looking out for our clients. We're trying to figure out how to make them more money. And that's an important perspective. I mean, when the Wells Fargo thing came out, we couldn't imagine, can you imagine? I can't imagine anybody here saying, I'm going to set up another account for a commission or whatever it was, an incentive, and it hurts or it doesn't help my client. I mean, it's about, so I have this rule and I call it well, let me even abstract, because this actually does come from my book In Good Faith, is I think the secret to everything, the secret to not secret, but the essence of all morality and the essence to running a business right is from the Bible, love your neighbor as yourself. And as Hillel put it in a practical manner, don't do what is hateful unto you to someone else. The rest is commentary, go learn it. So like every bank, we have this, big, thick standards of conduct. But you know what I did a few years ago? I put that at the front and said, you know what, you got to read the rest of this, unfortunately, because of bank regulations. But just if you approach every client, every vendor, every counterparty with the view that don't do unto them what would be hateful unto you, you're good. I mean, you always have to put yourself in the other person's position. That doesn't mean we don't have to collect loans and the like if someone defaults. What it means
Right.
that in day-to-day business, we're looking out for the other person. And that comes through, I think, authentically. And by the way, if someone's not doing it, they're not going to stay here, because we're not going to, we're a great environment, but if you're not looking out for your clients and you're not looking out for, and you're not, we have to negotiate with vendors. We don't just cut checks to vendors, but we don't do untoward things. And that culture has been so important. And I think, you said someone approached you from Signature Bank, I think before we started recording. If you met with someone from Signature Bank, you'd find that those values are imbued into what we do. We're not, if it doesn't make sense, you don't know how many times I've told people, you know, who we've talked to, you know what your current financial situation with your current provider is great. Good luck. If you know situation changes, fine. So we think we're the best bank for businesses, for privately owned businesses between 25 and 500 employees. And even though most people haven't heard of us because we don't have a retail franchise, if you're in there, that group, you're gonna, and you're talking to other people like that, you're gonna hear those stories over and over again. That, you know, the bank came through. I don't know. I mean, you know, I do get complaints once in a while. Don't get me wrong. We're a bank. We deal with a lot of people, but it's so, that number is so overwhelmed by people saying, boy, the bank did the right thing.
Absolutely.
I'm actually, I get emails from people who say they're grateful they bank here. I mean, it's really, but that comes from value.